That's the message, folks. Bullying works.
All right, we are currently recording. Hello, everybody. My name is Chelsea Graves. I'm with
Hello.
thatshit.com, and I'm here to join with United Kingdom's radically visionary, aggressively tactical, ambitiously Z-minded, and progressional musician, Park Zero. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I wanted to be on the show. A lot of compliments. Jesus.
What got you into music? Was it culture? Was it forums, media, or did it just come from just like your own intuition?
Uh, I wanted to bully my friend. My friend, I was very not into music for a long, long time. I don't think I even had like a full record until like a couple years ago. It's like an album in full from back to front. And then I have a friend called Erica who is wonderful and amazing and has really pretentious music taste. I listens to like solo and all kinds of stuff that at the time was to me very left of center and weird. So it started with me just fucking around with like guitar in Audacity and trying to make stuff. And I think the file I sent her was like, "This is your music taste.mp3," and it was just the guitar just distorted beyond belief for like 30 seconds. And it kind of just went off from there. I think I'm slightly better now, but debatable.
That's so cool. I mean, I think that's the first time I've ever like heard as a reason to get into music was to bully your friend. I think that's hilarious.
Oh, I had very little interest in being a musician. I wanted to be an audio engineer for a long, long, long time, and I had started taking guitar lessons just to kind of get my foot in the door. That never went anywhere because I learned like power chords and that was it. And then I kind of fell out of that whole thing. But it was just a thing that was around and I did it. And thank you to my great friend Erica, who just basically encouraged me and went, "Whoa, this actually sounds cool." It did not, but clearly she was just pushing me in that direction. And now I'm here, so I'll take it.
And how would you describe your
Yeah,
music if you could?
loud. It tends to be very fuzzed out. Tends to be quite depressive. People argue about genres a lot. People tend to agree on power noise, but I have a friend who's 100% certain that it's metal, and I don't know why. I would guess I would go with power noise.
So you're a part of a collective
Not the
called the
truth, not the truth at
Ballads,
all.
which is a slightly similar to your solo work. Do you fuse the ideas based off of the collective, or did you branch off into other remedies to create your art?
Ballads kind of originally came around because I was doing ambient stuff. If you listen to all of those kind of early records from this time, like last year, they tend to be very pretty synthy things where they just go ping, it's not very formed, it's not very kind of existing yet. And the Ballads was just this label I came up with for here's my ambient music. And that kind of didn't fit so much anymore when the ambient music started to get really kind of abrasive and industrial. The Park Zero kind of just came along as like, I'm done with that now. You can still listen to that. It's still there. It's still kind of me, but I'm loud now. Live with it.
It seems to be a common thing I've noticed that like ambient artists kind of love the same thing from like blending genres from like being on polar opposites of the spectrum. So I feel like that's a very unique thing to come about. I like it.
I mean, if you listen to enough noise music and industrial music and post-industrial and kind of abrasive stuff, there tends to be an overlap. Like, especially if you think of like Have a Nice Life, Death Consciousness and everything, there's really pretty kind of guitar stuff, very pretty ambient, very pretty kind of post-punk. And you start to kind of, if you listen to enough of it, the genre kind of stops mattering. And it kind of, you hear the melodies and stuff, and you hear the kind of ideas, and they manage to kind of stick no matter what they're being done in. And I think that's kind of my goal at the moment is just I want to do the post rock song, I want to do the IDM song, I want to do the industrial like dance club banger, and I want it to all kind of sound cohesive. which is hard, but I think I'm getting there.
A little off topic from music for a second. What would you consider the biggest pro of your country?
Free healthcare. There you go. Boom. The one thing I can say that it kind of does right, even though politicians have tried to shoot it in the foot for like a decade now. Yeah, let me throw out a fat one. Fuck the conservatives. Boom. It's in the air now. It's been said.
Were there any hobbies or experience you had outside of music that influenced your art?
Experiences, yeah. Hobbies, maybe. For a while, I tended to get into a lot of reading and stuff, and especially on this newest record, I Was Sickening You, there's references to that kind of stuff with like Slaughterhouse-Five, which is of course the Kurt Vonnegut book about the Dresden fire bombings and everything, which is slightly bleak referencing, but I think it kind of works. So that was definitely an influence. Experiences in general tend to kind of influence a lot of my stuff because often I'll kind of fall down my own mental rabbit hole and I'll get really sad and really like angry. And then that'll become sound and I'll make that sound and it'll be less fun. But yeah, I think the real world does tend to influence my work a lot. I don't know if there's any concrete thing I can point to as like that's where I draw my thing from. There's definitely a sense of disillusionment at the moment in the zeitgeist that kind of builds up into my music. I think yeah.
For sure.
I have no idea if any of the words that just left my mouth made sense, but I will assume they did. You nodded along, so I'm going to assume they were a sentence.
Yeah, no, I mean, as much as like I can't get on the same level of like relatability or anything like that, but I can definitely kind of see like the end goal of what experiences you have faced that kind of just like flow their way into the sounds that you create.
Yeah, it does tend to come from a negative place, which is not super fun, but it's better than like other outlets for negative feelings, so I'll take it.
Your previous work is less cryptic and has some sort of defining message or energy to them. The cliff note is simple enough to grasp for anyone entering the climate. Where did the term a Lambreth of sound come from? What would you just say is the defining meaning behind that?
Well, for one, I want to clarify. I stole that, but it's stolen imagery. I think it was Mike the Snare talking about JPEG Mafia's All My Heroes Are Cornballs. Oh, or it was Frank Ocean's Blonde. One of the two. It was. I kind of just love that idea of an album which feels like completely meandering, but feels so cohesive. Where you can kind of, if you look at the big picture, it's like, what the fuck is going on? But as you kind of walk through it, it makes sense. And I think that just kind of resonated with me. It's just, that's what I want my music to be. I want it to be incomprehensible, but it feels so grounded when you're in it. Like when you're hearing it kind of meander.
Sometimes that is kind of how I like to view my music, even like if it's not something like too intellectual, like you don't like have to put your mind into it too deeply, but sometimes my mind wanders that way.
That's the goal. The goal is to just wander into making great music. No effort, no thoughts, brain empty. That's the dream.
Bimbo brain eccentric.
100% right.
What's your opinion on the current world of music and how the SoundCloud and hyperpop scene has completely taken over the underground in terms of current upcoming young musicians?
Feels good. People expect me to be very angry about this because of the hex stuff and hyperpop and the everything. It's not for me. It's really not my thing, but it's like scenes come and go, Shoegaze existed for like 2 years and it's still kicking now, but not, the mainstream isn't really shoegaze, but there's still great shoegaze music. The industrial scene kind of, it was blossoming for a while, even if it's kind of slightly different now. It's still good. I'm glad more kids are getting into music and stuff, obviously, because even if it's something I don't necessarily enjoy, if they manage to kind of find some way to get into the whole, they find a way to express themselves through art, through like bit crushed samples or squeaky high pitched vocals or whatever. I don't necessarily want to hear it, but I'm really happy for them, and clearly people are finding great success with it. So good on them. I'm pretty content with the music scene. Anyone who like shits on the music scene or other people, get out of here. Get out of here. That's not the vibe. Those ain't the vibes. These are good vibes.
Kind of a segue into that. Do you believe that the noise and other niche genre scenes will take over basement and warehouse spaces during the future, like during current or during even post-COVID? Do you believe that's going to happen?
Uh, Maybe. I can't predict the future, but it seems likely because noise music isn't super hard to get into. Once you get past the whole having tinnitus, it's pretty easy to get a grasp on what makes it fun and what makes it kind of enjoyable to hear. So I think as soon as COVID's over, we're gonna see a lot more people doing a lot more kind of weird experimental stuff because especially recently, there's been much more of a focus on actual recorded music rather than live performances. So people have gone weird with it. They've gotten more out there, which is good. I don't know whether it will kind of take over, but I think there will be a resurgence. There will be a new peak.
I'm very excited for that. I would love for that to happen. If like just with all the time spent indoors and like seeing people come out with mixes like every other week and like creating new and like more innovative ideas just because they're kind of forced to. It's like really cool to see in real time.
Yeah, it's really crazy. The experimental music scene is like on the up and up. It is not dying out at all. People are just making shit 24/7, boom, 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 and it's all pretty okay quality. There's some stinkers, but a lot of people are making really great music. They're just doing it in their bedroom, and they're just doing it, and it's great. I love it. I'm a big fan, big fan.
If you could have the opportunity to collaborate with any musician or creative in general, who would it be and why?
Oh, Christ, this is really hard. This segment won't age well because every musician is seemingly a terrible person, and whoever I'm going to say is definitely going to be outed as like the worst human being in like a month. Um, Brian Chippendale probably. It'd be cool to get some crazy fucking drum stuff on the Park Zero record. Also, maybe like Andy Moran. All the guys from Death Grips are fucking crazy. I would love to work with those guys on anything because they're incredible, obviously. But yeah, I don't know if there's one specific person. Probably Brian Chippendale. Probably.
You ever have one of those albums that's like so comedically bad that you like can't stop listening to it?
Yeah, Jesus.
Recommend me one spot that you would consider someone to go to in your country if I ever come to visit.
Oh, um, I don't know. England's kind of the worst. The British Library's pretty neat. They have books. I haven't been most places. I've been to London like a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
The one place I'd recommend is like an airport to leave our country because it's bad.
And one last question for the interview. What are you looking forward to in your own music journey and as well as new music coming up this year?
Well, there'll probably be another record this year. So I've already started work on another record, and it's pretty cool so far. So look forward to that, guys. Um, Music this year, I don't know. This year feels like it's not real. It'll probably feel real in the last like month, and then I'll go, "Whoa, that was a year." But currently, it just feels like it's been 3 months. Has it been 3 months? It's not. Life isn't real. World isn't a place.
All right. Well, Park Zero, thank you so much for your time. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And we look forward to hearing the new album coming out this year. We can check you out on Bandcamp under the Ballads or Park Zero. Is there anything that you want to say?
You can follow
Anything
me.
you want to plug?
Be nice to other people